Okay, so welcome to our Group 1 presentation, and all the members in our group are Blake, Fred, and Shan. And the purpose of this presentation was to showcase the appearance of our group's database, demonstrating working queries and reports, and also to document failures and difficulties experienced by the team. As a group, we decided to use a relational database model using MySQL and to help potential clients organize their closets. And the other tools we used were Microsoft Excel to create a flat file. And also we use LAMP server as our backbone. And Fred is going to continue and explain a little bit more about our database.
Thank you, Dulcie. I'm Fred Swingle. I'm going to guide you through the group's process of creating a database. First, a flat file of the closet contents were created using Microsoft Excel. That's right here. Oops. Bring her up. And that is right here. And after we created that, we had to turn it into a CSV file so we could put it onto the MySQL. And here is the CSV file. Then the initial table created to hold the files were done on MySQL. It's a little bigger, we're blocking these guys out here, but that's what it looked like. Now, somewhere in the process of trying to set up the WAMP server to make it visible to other team members, I disconnected with the file and could no longer access it via MySQL. But it was saved on the WAMP server and accessible via PHP MyAdmin. And we'll get you an example of that directly. And through here we log in. Okay, there it is. Bring it over. It's under Group 1 presentation. And there you can see it. Now, I'll do one quick query to show that. Oops, I'm sorry, there goes Dulcie. I'm going to bring this down. Now, I'm doing this just to show that it is indeed the same as that flat file. Here are all everything that came in, and you can compare it, and there's the flat file. Okay. Now, next will be Blake to explain some of the queries, and I'm going to attempt to demonstrate it from my end while Blake does it, since I had the problem setting it up. So.
Well, thank you, Fred. So what we ran into is we were trying to diagnose the other day, trying to get access for me to remote into his database, and what was happening was the port was not allowing us to grab IP information from my computer to be able to log in. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to be orating what the queries are with his database, and he'll be executing it on his side to effectively show a user interaction. So, for example, just to pull some information here, a very simple demonstration of making a custom report is going to be where we're going to take two different tables, we're going to join them together, and it's going to return a report that shows what we want in one report, so we don't have to make separate select statements, because that's very time consuming and it's not very efficient at all. So what we're going to end up doing with our group 1 presentation, that's the name of the schema, we're going to be using 2 tables. One's going to be the shirt descriptions table, and the other is going to be the pants descriptions table. We're going to be taking 2 pieces of clothing and returning it upon the same type. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take the query and we're going to join it together, and we're going to compare it to what we have, and we're going to make the description ID equal to 2 on both, strictly because we know after pulling those information, we know that the description ID for like a shirt description, just as an example, is a button down. And we wanted to have the pants description to follow a similar format because it's easier, because the column names, this is one of the difficulties you ran into. The column names are not the same, so you can't really join them as effectively as you could on a normal constraint. So by putting the select statement and then having your 2 column names after select, we are now going to be querying from the primary table being pants descriptions. But in order to join the database, we have to give it an alias, and that's why we put PD. Now we join the shirt descriptions with its own alias SD on the SD.shirt description ID, because we are telling which table that column's coming from, setting it equal to PD, or pants descriptions table, on the pants description ID column. And we're giving the constraints where the pants description ID from the pants descriptions table is equal to 2, or the shirt description ID is equal to 2. That's going to give us a return where both should have the description of 2. So now if we execute that, what we're going to get is a very short return. And what it's going to show is now we have a shirt description ID is equal to 2, and a pant description ID is also equal to 2. So what we effectively did is we pulled both columns from 2 different tables into one report. This is just very effective for large amounts of information in the event you have medical transmissions, anything like that, where there's date and time entries, null values, anything like that. Now, in a real world situation, we may not know as an end user what that means. So what we want to do is we want to go back, we want to do a separate query, and let's say we want to know what our shirt descriptions are. So we have a separate table strictly there to tell us what that is. So if we write select all from shirt descriptions and execute that, what that's going to tell us is we have a table defining what these shirt descriptions are, so we know exactly what they are. So in this case, well, shirt description ID is equal to 2. I don't know what that means, but the table is telling me that it's a button down. So in the event that you have system users, you don't know what system access level 2 is. You have to say, well, access level 2 is an administrator, because it's defined in the database. What is also very good to do, and this is something we ran into a little difficulty with, but what another important thing to do with databases is updating it. So what we want to do is we want to be able to do an insert function. Databases are always expanding. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to insert a value into the pants description table. So what you want to have is your pants descriptions. You're going to open it up with the apostrophes, because it is a character-defined function. If you don't have the apostrophes, it's going to treat it as an integer. But now we have our restrictions here. We have the 2 column names, which you have to do into your parentheses because you have more than one. But then if you look at values, it also has to follow the same pair. It's kind of like an ordered pair in math. So by behaving it this way, what we should be able to do in essence is we should be able to submit this query. What it's going to do is when you look at the output, it's not going to have one. So now if we go back to our pants descriptions table and we query the pants descriptions, what we're going to end up doing is show that we just inserted that. So let's make another query here. And we'll just write this one out by hand. So we're just going to do is select all from pants descriptions. And now if we execute that, you have to submit a query again. There you go. There. Now, if we scroll down in our table, we should see, if we did this correctly, we should see, did we do it in shirt descriptions or pant descriptions? Pretty sure we did pant descriptions. But what we're going to end up finding, and it looks like must have made a little mistake here, and this is where growing pains are. What you would end up seeing is you would see a pants description ID of 12 be in there, and then we should have had a description of test. It looks like I made a little bit of a mistake, but that's super easy to do with databases and inserting functions. I haven't actually done it with the PHP MyAdmin. I did within the MySQL app, so it's potentially where this could be causing this issue, but that's easily done and corrected. But that syntax within that select statement, or with that insert into, that is correct syntax that will work within MySQL. I just suspect the PHP MyAdmin in this case is what's causing that issue. But by using these particular types of queries, you can do any sort of interactions that you would normally do in any other instance and pull any other report. You can define functions if you need to. If you have a lot of variables, like with device serial numbers, etc., you would just declare variables in the beginning of that. But we don't need to do that in a situation where we just have colding. There isn't any floating point dynamics here, and there's no null values, anything like that. So that was just a quick demonstration of the way that this works and the way that this database does function in most common situations of an insurance protocol, because that's all they're going to be doing is just pulling information. They're not going to really be worrying about updating it, but doing custom reports as to what could have been lost in a house fire or whatnot. That's the purpose of this, and those queries are going to be the most common. So I'm going to turn this over to Chan, and he's just going to wrap this up for us.
All right, so in conclusion, throughout the course of this semester, we have learned how to take a closet, in this case, Fred's closet, from a collection of physical objects into an organized relational database within MySQL. We have learned the basics of creating database tables as well as relationships and subgroups that make databases more complex and efficient, along with learning how to make queries to retrieve the information from these databases. This course has given us a good starting point on the basics that we will build on from here. Thank you.